On Overdrive today, we find out whether the updated Kia Carnival is worthy of its heavy price tag, and we experience a luxurious yet extremely powerful electric Mercedes-Maybach EQS 680. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I am Soini Datta. If you're in the market looking for a premium MPV, then you have just one option to choose from, and that is the Kia Carnival. Now, the Kia Carnival is back in the Indian market in its 4th generation with a heavier price tag. But do the updates justify that price tag? Let's find out.
The Kia Carnival is back in India in its latest facelifted 4th generation form, and it's been grabbing a lot of headlines with how much pricier it's become. So let's just get behind the wheel and see if you actually get your money's worth now. The Carnival has gone through a significant update. It is now 40 mm longer, 10 mm wider and 20 mm taller, and the interior space has been optimized over this. The front overhangs have reduced and you have a stiffer architecture with better NVH controls, says Kia. The engine, suspension setup and brakes have also been reworked. Now, like earlier, the centerpiece of the Kia Carnival continues to be the second row. And just like before, getting in and out is very simple. Of course, you have that power opening door, and then it's very easy to get in. You pull the door back, and yeah, I can also, just like before, slide the seat inside and then give myself this much legroom. Now, of course, then the third row won't be too usable, but it's okay. I mean, you can always adjust the kind of legroom that you have. Now, to start with, I'll tell you about the amenities that you have here. Of course, you have a sunroof, you have your own climate zone, these vents here, sunshades. These seats now get a heating and a ventilation function, and they're also power adjusted now. Now, aside from the usual reclining angle and the ottomans, you also now get a relaxation mode, which, as you can see, will give me this great sort of position here. And then if that wasn't enough for you, you still have the boss function that pushes this seat forward. So yeah, you can free up a massive amount of space here. Now, Kia says that in most aspects, this space is larger than before, except for in terms of legroom. And just like in the last Carnival, you do notice that with the ottomans sort of fully spread out, your feet fall foul with the front seats. Now, this is riding on 18-inch tires now, and while Kia has done a lot of work with the suspension, both in terms of how good it is around corners and even in terms of ride comfort, it is good, say on a highway, on a clean road like this, you don't find too many issues. You can just feel the car flowing along. It's a quite stable ride. It feels well put together. It feels like it's stuck to the ground well, so it is a comfortable journey. Now, where you do notice some of that underlying firmness is over a broken patch of road or a sharp speed breaker. There you do find that it's a bit firm. You do notice some of the sort of jolts in the cabin, but again, it's nothing that will take away from the entire experience of being in the Kia Carnival. Now, driving the Kia Carnival in this new form, it's broadly a similar experience to what it was like before, because the engine, the drivetrain itself hasn't changed much. Now, Kia says it has worked on this 2.2 litre diesel engine, and you do notice that it makes slightly less power now, 193 PS, but torque has remained the same at 441 Nm, and it still pairs with the same 8-speed torque converter automatic. And like before, it's a perfectly acceptable unit. It's a diesel engine, which at this price point, especially with an MPV body style, you don't find too many of these. So that by itself gives the Carnival somewhat of a USP. And really, on the move, it's pretty inoffensive. It does the job of what you want from an MPV pretty well. So at low speeds in the city, it gives you that where you have power, where you have torque right from as soon as you step on the throttle. So even below 2000 RPM, it will have a good deal of torque. It doesn't feel hesitant, it doesn't feel lethargic. And then when you do want power, say on the highway or just even in the city, when you want that big dab of power, you do notice that it has a smooth, very strong wave of diesel torque, just how you would want in a car like this. Now again, with this being as big a car as it is and what its purpose is, its handling characteristics won't be very high on your list of priorities. But again, like the last car, it's very easy to get used to. It doesn't feel its weight. It's a really big, wide, heavy car, but it doesn't really feel like that on the move. It feels quite easy to sort of maneuver in any situation. The steering isn't too heavy, so That's not a problem. Even on the highway, it doesn't feel too vague or sort of light. And the same goes with the way it handles, say, a set of corners. Now, of course, you won't be going very fast in this car, but take it smoothly, take it calmly, and it sticks to the road. There are no surprises. It doesn't catch you out. There is roll, but again, it's not too alarming. So it leans in as progressively as something this big can. And yeah, so something to get used to driving. Either you or your chauffeur will not find that there's too much of a learning curve to driving such a big car. And you never really know how much braking you are getting. I think that should have been corrected. And while in normal driving it's not too much of a problem, in a panic braking situation that might catch you out sometimes.
There's still more to tell you about the Kia Carnival, about the creature comforts this MPV has to offer. Stay with us. After this very short break, we'll tell you all about it. Welcome back. You're with us on Overdrive. The 2024 Kia Carnival is based on a new architecture, which means it is 40mm longer, 10mm wider and 20mm taller than the previous model. It also means it's a 7-seater MPV which offers plenty of creature comforts and features. Let's take a look.
The 2024 Kia Carnival follows the recent trend of MPVs taking inspiration from SUVs and carrying an imposing face. The L-shaped DRLs are a common Kia theme, and you have those striking vertical light clusters too. But the wide chrome-studded grille draws the most attention with its varying textures and finishes. The bodywork is now more sophisticated than earlier, with simple lines and flat surfaces. You notice this in profile the most. Kia has done well to break up the big glass house with the inverted textured C-pillar, which adds a distinct touch to the Carnival. The design of the 18-inch wheels add more flash again. The functional rear is again well done too, with the again quite familiar Kia light signature with the split light bar and vertical cluster. The big spoiler and raked windscreen also break up the mass to an extent. Now Kia has retained that really smart boot arrangement that was a great talking point with the last Carnival. So as you can see, with all the 3 rows up, you still have a very significant 627 liters of space. As you can see, all of our luggage has been swallowed up very easily. So if you are on a road trip with a full load of passengers, you won't have problem with their luggage with the Carnival. And at times when you do need to free up more space, it's really quite easy to do that as well. All you do is pull this. It takes some effort, but really not that much. And as you can see, these things fold completely flat. The Kia Carnival now gets an especially comprehensive suite of level 2 ADAS functions, as well as a clear set of 360-degree cameras. There are also 8 airbags, TPMS and auto headlamps and wipers. Now the Carnival really does feel like it's taken a few steps forward once you get into the front seats. Although to be honest, you probably will not spend a lot of time here, but when you do think of spending time here, it's a reasonably well appointed space. Now you have soft materials, you have them here and also along the doors over here and here. But generally the layout itself is quite a bit more modern compared to the last version. With that old bank of buttons that it had over here, it's much improved from there. So you have this sort of layered look to it with this section here, the gloss black, then this sort of merging of the vents, more gloss black here, this sort of ambient lighting highlights, and this really quite wide central tunnel. Also going with this modern theme are the new interfaces for the screens. They now have a more modern widget-based layout that puts a lot of functions on the home screen and makes access to menus easier. It continues to be fairly responsive like Kia's earlier system. The digital instrument cluster has received a similar treatment, but the overall theme for both could have been brighter. Yes, it does have a more seamless sense to it though. Now this new Carnival can be had in the 7-seater captain seat layout only, which means getting to the third row is slightly convoluted. You walk through like this, and this is how you get in. Now like the second row, space here too has grown marginally from the last version, but the Carnival always had one of the more usable third row spaces, and that continues with this version as well. As you can see, I am fairly comfortable here, and unlike many of these third row seating sort of configurations, I'm not completely knees up, so I still have a decent degree of thigh support. As you can see, the seats, they are actual usable seats. Priced at ₹63.90 lakh, the Kia Carnival has become significantly more expensive. Yes, you don't quite get the cabin quality, ambience or refinement of a full-blown luxury brand, but Kia has thrown the kitchen sink in for the price, which helps. The Carnival is an especially comfortable space to be chauffeured in and comes with a powertrain to match this. This diesel engine, given the big gap in the MPV market which Kia has tried to fill with this model, the Carnival continues to make a case for itself if you don't want to spend upwards of ₹1 crore.
Well, it's time to head into our final break here on the show, but coming up on the other side, we drive the very luxurious Mercedes-Maybach EQS 680. Stay with us, you're watching Overdrive. Welcome back, you're with us on Overdrive. Up next, we have a silent yet powerful expression of opulence. I am talking about the all-electric Mercedes-Maybach EQS 680. Need I say more?
The car looks stunning, doesn't it? And those badges, they're amongst the most prestigious in the automotive world. For example, that three-pointed star should tell you that this is above most of the other car brands in the whole wide world. The 680 badge should tell you that this one sits above most of the other cars in the Mercedes-Benz portfolio. The EQS badge should tell you that it's electrification blended with S-Class levels of luxury. And then that badge there, or these M's on the D pillar, should tell you that this is the pinnacle of what Mercedes-Benz has to offer. Welcome the new Maybach 680 EQS, a Maharaja of sorts in the automotive world. Let's see then if the Maybach EQS 680 is worthy of your Bollywood star lifestyle or perhaps that well-earned tech CEO salary. The EQS 680 has presence, though a bit shout from the rooftops kind of way. I'm not a big fan of the Maybach logos cluttering the bumpers, but they do add to the presence. The exterior is dominated by its aerodynamic curves, softened edges and a front grille that almost mimics a conventional one, but without the V8 engine snarl behind it, unlike the GLS Maybach. The black panel grille adorned with vertical chrome bars is more of an electronic smile than an aggressive snout. And oh, those wheels, I simply cannot stop talking about them when I mention this car. Step in. I don't have to pull the door in. All I need to do is press the brake and the door shuts by itself. Step in and you instantly feel like royalty, minus the crown, of course. Mercedes-Benz has taken the already impressive cabin of the EQS and injected it with the Maybach opulence, one that you never really saw with an EV. The cabin is as plush as it gets, offering a seamless blend of cutting-edge tech and hand-stitched craftsmanship. And with the inherent silence of the electrics, you will very clearly hear the little background score that the audio unit is playing, or even the heartbeats of the other occupants in the car while they are perfecting their social media feed. Why not simply just drown into the beautifully tuned audio from those Burmester speakers? That would be a nice thing to do. And they do stir up your emotions quite literally, because they're speakers even in the seats, and they send the vibration straight to your heartbeats as well. The hyperscreen, a vast display virtually running from one end of the dashboard to the other, dominates the space like a digital art installation. Not kidding. It's all about ease of use here, with haptic feedback, OLED displays and all the buttons you would need buried in that touchscreen experience. There are even functions for your chauffeur to remotely swing open the doors from the comfort of the touchscreen, or simply using gestures. And while that is a conversation starter, in this EQS the real deal is in the rear seats. India's high net worth individuals leave the driving to the chauffeur. And for these kind of people, even the rear doors can be closed with gestures, not just with that screen. And as you'd expect, you get nice first class seating back in here. You're going to get reclining seats. You can nicely stretch out. You can enjoy some entertainment, get a massage from these seats, get ventilation, nice beautiful cushions, catch a snooze, work back here, do what you like. This is truly first class motoring. When it comes to features, the EQS 680 shows why it's a Maybach. It's got everything you would expect. augmented reality navigation, a Burmester sound system that turns the cabin into a private concert hall, and a fragrance system that ensures you're never more than a few moments away from feeling like you're at a high-end spa. And negotiating tight parking spaces like your favorite South Mumbai clubs, or when driving through the chaotic traffic in Delhi, or when arriving at the bustling IT parks in Hyderabad, Bangalore, etc. This feature does come in handy. It almost makes the effect of a shorter wheelbase, makes the turning radius quite tight. It just helps negotiating all these tight spaces a lot better than you would expect for a car of this length, this size. The EQS 680's dual motor setup generates a meaty 650 PS and 950 Newton meters of torque that give you the kind of thrust that makes you forget you're in a near 3-ton luxury SUV. The power delivery is butter smooth, just like Kashmir silk. And the sprint from 0 to 100 takes about 4.4 seconds. However, the chances of you putting that to the use in bumper-to-bumper traffic, the regular city chaos, are none. With an impressive range of over 600 kilometers in the real world, the EQS 680 offers practicality without compromising on opulence. Charging infrastructure in India is still finding its feet, but Mercedes-Benz has addressed this with their fast charging stations and partnerships. Plug it into a 180 kilowatt charger and it will give you a 300 kilometer top up in about 30 minutes of charge. That's pretty good. That's the kind of time you will take to sip on your artisanal espresso. In true Maybach fashion, the EQS 680 glides over the roads as if it was levitating. The airmatic suspension ensures that potholes and uneven surfaces, which we are too familiar with here, are absorbed effortlessly. The ride quality is so smooth you will forget that you're driving in India. And then the noise insulation of the cabin, it's already silent because it's an EV powertrain, but then the noise insulation is so good. All that you can hear is a little bit of hum of those electric motors and that background score, just to prevent things from being spookishly quiet. But it definitely cuts you off from all the symphony of motorcycle and car honking that you otherwise hear on each and every road in India. Handling is crisp for such a large EV, but let's not pretend that this is a corner carver. It's designed for cruising in utmost comfort and does that exceptionally well. For the chauffeur-driven clientele, this will be a godsend. The electric 4MATIC system comes courtesy of the 2 electric motors, but it quickly switches to only a pure rear-wheel drive propulsion the moment there are low load conditions. And with the kind of torque that electric motors offer, those low load conditions are pretty much all the time. And typical to a Maybach, this isn't a corner carver, but when you decide to let your hair down, that 4MATIC system quickly transitions from being a safety system to a performance system, where it will ensure that you get all-wheel drive grip when exiting corners. From an India standpoint, the Maybach EQS also eliminates any of those pesky concerns that you will have about diesel ban in certain areas, diesel ban probably in the future. So from that standpoint, this is the more future-proof Lux Limo. This could be all the car that you want at this point. With a pricing upwards of rupees 2 crore, the 2024 Mercedes-Maybach EQS 680 is not for the faint-hearted or the light-pocketed. But for those who can afford it, it offers a big serving of electric luxury where silence is golden, comfort is uncompromised, and sustainability doesn't mean skimping on opulence. In a country where showing off your status symbol is as much an art form as a necessity, the Maybach EQS could be a masterpiece.
With that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through our various social media platforms and you can write to us on YouTube. We'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye. Many thanks for watching.